Curved Greatswords are a niche weapon class in Dark Souls 2. It maintains the strength of heavy weapons, but with speeds comparable to Greatswords. This combination of medium speed and power makes it a very versatile class. Curved Greatswords absolutely have a very high learning curve. It demands its user to be fully aware of every move by virtue of its very precise but small hitbox paired with its very high stamina consumption. There are only 4 curved greatswords in Dark Souls 2, although I had a tougher time picking the best all around between them than picking an ultra greatsword between a pool of ultra greatswords from my previous best weapon in a particular class series video. In this video, I'm going to give basic hints and tips for using this weapon class in general and see how does it fare against other weapon classes. Then we are going to take a fast look at different weapons in this class and highlight the strengths and the weaknesses of each one. So, which weapon is the best between them from my conclusion? Let's check it out. The first 2 weapons we're going to take a look at are the Murakumo and its brother-in-arms, the R-Sword. I say this on the grounds that both of these are essentially identical twins, with genuinely minor differences. Taking a look at the stats, the Murakumo requires 20 in strength and 20 in dexterity to employ it, with E and A scaling respectively. On the other hand, the R-Sword requires 30 in strength and 18 in dexterity to operate, with B and S scaling respectively. So the R-Sword demands higher stats but can only surpass the Murakumo's damage in very high level further in the game. Furthermore, the R-Sword weighs 14 units while the Murakumo weighs 12 units. So the Murakumo weighs 2 units less than the R-Sword. So practically speaking, the Murakumo is much easier to employ and can be taken advantage of in low levels much easier, especially that it scales mainly from one stat, that is dexterity. And both of these weapons bolster exactly the same moveset, but no one can ignore the exquisite fashion souls of the R-Sword. However, it also demands, the R-Sword also demands the rare upgrade material, Petrified Dragon Bone, to upgrade, making it the more inaccessible to most players. So before talking about the moveset, I have to mention an apparent weakness of both of these weapons. Some hits on these weapons are very precise and small, to the point of making it extremely hard sometimes to hit a well-equipped and experienced player, especially the two-handed light attack. So an uncomplicated and straightforward way to redeem this weakness is by equipping a fast weapon as a backup or on the offhand. Rapiers, long swords, and curved swords come to mind, since they excel in this aspect. Combining both the sheer power of the great swords with the nimble agility of fast weapons, you will have the best from both worlds, and definitely become a dangerous foe in the battlefield. Now looking at the moveset, the one-handed light attack should be your bread and butter. It is much faster than other attacks on this weapon and covers a huge radius around you. To make it even more lethal, use this attack while unlocked and attack by manually aiming your attacks around you. By using this method, your foes will definitely have a very hard time to counter attack or backstab you, considering it consumes much less stamina than other attacks. So try to spam it around you while your opponent is rolling for the counter attack, thinking he can sneak behind for the backstab, only to discover that his attempt will only get him crushed by your very long machete, forcing him to retreat and forcing him to switch up his strategy. Now as for the two-handed light attack, this one is the one I mentioned that has a crappy hitbox by reason of the move not utilizing its range. The attack does very high damage and has a guaranteed 2 hits, but good luck hitting an experienced player with that shit. The only time I can think it can be used optimally is by using it in enclosed places and corridors. The initial attack of the heavy two-handed and one-handed attacks are the same, but the second attack is different. The one-handed version of the attack does the same attack twice, although the second attack does come out faster. However, the two-handed version of the heavy attack is the more intriguing one. The second attack comes out faster and covers a huge radius horizontally that can cause serious damage to the unsuspecting victim. This attack is also accompanied by the knockback effect or ability, which sends your foes flying away, giving you a couple of precious seconds to prepare for your next assault. This attack is usually used to bait your opponent, since most players will try to counterattack your first hit only to regret it later when their HP bar disappears in an instant. As for the backstep and running attacks, the two-handed version is definitely better. It covers a huge area and cannot be parried, making it one of the only few classes that cannot be parried from using a running attack. Did I also mention that the two-handed attacks cannot be parried too? This is awesome and adds an extra layer of lethality while using these weapons. This mechanical rule is also shared across this class, but beware, rolling and one-handed attacks can be parried. Using these two weapons can be difficult, but mastering them ultimately leads to victory. The third weapon we are going to be looking at is the Curved Dragon Sword, a dragon weapon with an outstanding special attack. Looking at the stats, it requires 30 in strength and 18 in dexterity to handle with a scaling of B and S respectively. This is one of the weapons that are better off uninfused since it has an absurdly high physical damage, but requires a solid quality build to maximize its output. The one-handed attack should be your primary attack, same as the previous weapons. It is a horizontal swing that is easy to use but can be easily parried, so watch out when using this attack. The two-handed version is lackluster, similarly as the previous weapons. Use it when the need arises. It can be used effectively against the person who liberally spams the parry button. The heavy attacks are a unique special move that sends a stream of air or magic or whatever you want to call that can attack people from range, which is very favorable for melee users. It has an absurd range coupled with medium damage. It is especially good while fighting more than one opponent. Using this dragon weapon will strike fear in the hearts of mortals, and few can challenge this dominant artifact. Calamite should be proud. The last weapon we are going to look at is the Nil Greatsword, the only DLC weapon on this list. This weapon is the most unique in this class. It can scale off the number of playthroughs you are in, from 0 extra damage in the first New Game Plus up to 100 extra damage in the 9th NG Plus. This is evident from the red aura produced while wielding the weapon. It is hands down the best two-handed light attack between the curved greatswords. It is much more versatile than the other ones in this aspect. It also comes with a special L2 attack that can be very useful, especially when used right after the two-handed heavy attack. This weapon cannot be buffed, so it's recommended to keep it uninfused. It requires 28 strength and 26 dexterity to wield with a scaling of S and B respectively. Other than its very adaptable moveset, this weapon can be devastating when playing with it on a high New Game Plus playthrough, and if used in the highest NG, it can be one of the best weapons in the game. But this requirement is very conditional and too steep, and in other words, it's asking a lot from its user. In addition to weighing 17 units, one less unit than the Curved Dragon Greatsword, it still cannot manage to surpass the dragon weapon's damage. But still, with a weapon like this, who needs enemies? The verdict. In my opinion, for its accessibility and just the right range, damage and overall balance, despite the fact it's ever so slightly better than the other challengers on this list, I elect the Murakumo, employed by the legend collector of rare weapons, who hails from the east. The Murakumo is the supreme package for curved greatswords, bolstering an edge only if you can challenge, and forever be used only by the most dedicated of warriors. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Make sure to check the two videos on screen. The one on the right is top 5 hexes in Dark Souls 2, and the one on the left is cost pairing, where I change my armor set after pairing. Bye bye.